Hello everybody, welcome back to Make It Simple TV. I'm Heather Porter, I'm a co-founder of Autopilot Your Business, and in this show we always bring in amazing experts from our inner circle of friends and people that Andrew and I have met over the years. Now I'm of course joined by my amazing co-host Andrew McCauley. How are you?
Hey Heather, I'm great, thank you. Good to be on another show this week and looking forward to today's guest.
And you're cooking over there in your office, aren't you?
I am cooking. If you see beads of sweat dripping off me, I am hot, hot, hot. It's not even summer yet, and we are already cooking.
It's like 100 degrees where Andrew is, with no air conditioning.
Degrees, yeah, 100 degrees, 40 degrees for Celsius, so yeah, it's cooking already.
Well, we have an amazing guest actually on our show today. Very excited because this guy I met in my very first year of living in Australia, and I've been in Australia for 10 years. So that means that I have known him for 10 years, just about 10 years. And we've seen him go through loads of different sort of metamorphosis and different jobs and different businesses. So I'm really looking forward to this chat. Now, our guest today is named Johnnie Cass. And Johnnie has, wow, quite a background. I hope you don't mind, Johnnie, I say this, but he's been on Big Brother in Australia. He's been a speaker and spoken on stages all over the world. He has his own underwear business right now. He has been a coach and a mentor to amazing people all over the world. That's just literally probably 3 bullet points of what else he's actually done. So without further ado, and Johnnie can tell us more about himself. Welcome to the show, Johnnie. How are you?
Oh, good morning, Heather. Good morning, Andrew. And of course, good morning to our listeners. Of course, it's a great pleasure to be here. Thanks, guys. It's really lovely to be here this morning, and thanks for that lovely introduction.
Well, it's great to have you. So, Johnnie, you have been through so many things in your life and done so many amazing things. I think let's find out what you're doing now, because we were just starting to talk about that just before we go live, and trying to work out what you're doing, what you're up to, where you're headed. If you could just give us a snapshot of who is Johnnie Cass right now today. What are you up to?
I love that question, and before I answer that question, it's funny that you sort of introduced me as somebody who's worked in film, somebody who's been a speaker that's traveled around the world and spoken to literally tens of thousands of people, someone who's done coaching, someone who has an underwear business, someone who has a retail management background. And it's funny because as I've just come back to Australia now, even for me, I've looked at my career and I've sort of gone, wow, what the hell is my career about and what am I about? And, I don't know, maybe some of our listeners out there, in their businesses, sometimes there's a lot of uncertainty when we run our own business. And, sometimes we stick to one thing. And the truth is, I guess for me, if I was to look at the bigger picture of what I've always been about, for me, it's been about leadership. So, even when I worked in television, even when I was on Big Brother, at the end of that program, which was such a great experience, by the way, even at the end of that program, amongst many other tags, one of the main tags that I got was I was the big brother of that household. So I guess my natural innate ability and what I'm always constantly interested in is leadership, personal leadership, leadership from a bigger perspective, and then of course with leadership comes of course energy management. So even one of my other careers was working as a personal trainer. So as a personal trainer, again, it's about leadership from a different point of view. And I think that too often people in business hold on to, oh, well, I'm a business development manager, or I'm an internet marketer, or I'm a particular type of thing. And I say to everyone, well, we're probably more than that. So to answer your question, what am I doing right now? I'm looking at a multitude of different leadership roles, probably 2 or 3 key ones. I'm working with a company down in Melbourne, and I'm doing a leadership program with them. So I'm running my program down there called Design Your Life. I'm also doing some keynote speaking at the minute, and also working on a book called CEO, which is about Chief Energy Officer. So it's all about energy management, all about leadership, and it's the same in my underwear business. Like I drop in there, we do some conversations around leadership. And then from there, the energy filters down through the organization. And then, of course, I've got some of my own personal interests as well. I think creativity is important to bring into business. So I'm also have an interest in how creativity plays in business, plays out in life. So I'm also looking at doing some film production training as well. So just I like to mix things up.
No kidding. No,
Right.
I remember, Johnny, we were sitting back and, gosh, I think it was Sydney, actually, one of the events that we all three were involved in for quite a while. And guys, we've all been traveling and gone crazy escapades together all over the world, by the way. But this particular time we were having coffee, and you were looking at who you're going to be online, I remember, and you were talking about how you wanted to, I think, it's about the brand of more, have more, be more, something along those lines. So I like that you've kind of evolved into leadership. What about leadership has drawn you to it to be your new, I guess, brand, or what you actually are standing for now?
It's I love that question for the reason you're absolutely right. My God, I remember that conversation, Heather Porter, like about 11 years ago, and why I like leadership. And again, if you look at everyone's life, there are strands in our lives. And the concept for me, like my purpose in life, is to experience everything that life has to offer. So I like to wake up every day and I'm asking myself, am I experiencing something new today? Am I experiencing my full potential today? Am I experiencing the world and all that it has to offer? That doesn't mean that I'm doing great things every day. That can be just going for a beautiful walk in the morning and appreciating the wonderful life that we have. But if I want more, if I desire more out of my life, which ties in with I want to experience everything that the world has to offer from a business point of view, a personal point of view, a relationship point of view, then guess what? That requires leadership. That requires personal leadership. That requires business leadership. That requires leadership from a financial point of view. And then once again, leadership is encompassed with energy. Energy is encompassed with a sense of purpose and with a sense of meaning. And then with a sense of purpose and with a sense of meaning, you then have to drive down to actually doing the stuff and doing the action part that enables you to experience more of life and more of business and more of wealth and more of what you're doing.
Hey, Johnny, you travel a lot. You've been around the world a whole bunch of times, more times than you could probably count. And I've been on some of those trips with you too. What do you like? Either what do you like about traveling, or is it as cracked up? Is it as good as it is cracked up to be? And what's your opinion on traveling now?
Well, Andrew and Heather, you and I have all been very, very fortunate to travel around the world, and we've probably seen more places than most people ever will get the opportunity to experience in a lifetime. And for that, I'm pretty sure you guys are the same. I'm eternally grateful. And I still look back on some of the days when we were traveling quite significantly. I think we were probably on the road like maybe 200 days out of the year, if not more. And I still remember moments, and I'm sure you guys shared these moments with me, where we would wake up in Fiji, or we would wake up in Bali, and we would leave our hotel room and you'd walk by the beautiful swimming pool and you'd walk by the beautiful ocean, and you're thinking, man, I'm getting ready to go to work right now. Like, this is just crazy. Where most people are getting up and getting confined and stuck in a train, or in London Tube where you're smelling someone's armpit. And travel is a strong part of who I am. It's a strong part of who you are. And, it's a double-edged sword. I think there comes a great deal of freedom when you can decide when you want to travel in order to make money, as opposed to having to travel in order to make money. There's a great big difference between, in fact, I was just walking this morning with a very dear friend of mine, and I was even just reflecting on travel this morning, and there's a great big difference between sort of getting up and traveling because you want to, as opposed to getting up and having to travel because your boss or because your work means that you have to travel, and you have to leave your family behind, you have to leave your friends behind. There's a great big difference in that. So everybody always aspires to traveling, but the truth is, personally, I think there has to be a balance between travel now and having a home and having a base. And look, at the end of the day, it depends on the meaning that you put around it. Like for me, I've had just as many wonderful experiences being at home, sitting on the couch with a good friend of mine in my apartment, and thinking I'm really enjoying this moment, rather than thinking, oh my God, I'm about to board another plane in business class for 20 hours to go and travel on the other side of the planet, thinking I would much rather stay at home with my beautiful godchildren right now, have a laugh and watch Frozen on TV. I'd be just as happy. So, you know, and I know a lot of people aspire to travel, and I guess from my experience, having been on the road like you guys, do it as long as you enjoy it, and know that at some point in time, what was once a freedom can potentially become a prison for you. When you wake up in another hotel room and you're going, hang on a minute, I actually really don't want to be here. In fact, I'll really quickly share a personal story with you. I remember one time, you know, I think you guys were at this event actually. We've been traveling around the road, we've been out there, we've been doing a great big tour. You and I traveled from London and Australia and backwards and forwards. I remember speaking to an audience of about 3,000 people. Everyone was ramped up, everyone was really hyped up. I finished the event, really excited. And then as I got back to my hotel room and I opened the door, I realized that the only person that was greeting me was my good friend Loneliness. And it was at that point in time I thought to myself, I really need to rethink this travel. And I guess that's one of the great things about doing what we're doing right now. Like, look at us, we're being able to do business. Andrew, you're in Vegas. Heather, you're in another part of Sydney. I'm in another part of Sydney. So from a business point of view, we can create business, we can work in business in a multitude of different ways, and you just got to define how much travel you want to do.
Hey, I want to set a scene for one particular memorable travel moment that we all had together.
I'm nervous.
I want you to finish the story, okay? So it's not a bad story. So we're in Hawaii and we're at a 7-day event back then. These events went for 7 days, and early in the morning, I think it might have been about 7 a.m. we all went down to the beach. There was about 6 of us, and we all hired canoes to go out and chase a certain animal out in the ocean. give me your impression of what happened that morning.
Oh my Lord! Oh my God! Wow! Thanks for that memory. I remember that moment as clear as day, because again, that was just a moment again when we woke up in the morning and we you know, we're going kayaking, and we're going kayaking in Hawaii, and it's before work, and as we start kayaking out in the ocean, I don't know, maybe 50 meters, 100 meters in front of us, there's this beautiful whale, and it just breached in front of us, and I think we all kind of just looked at each other and went, pardon the French, just went, fuck, this is what life is about. And that is what life is about. We all looked at each other in complete disbelief of what we've been able to create. And that's the beauty of, I think, the mind, the beauty of intent, appreciating everything that life has to offer. So for me, that was my experience and my memory of that time. It was an amazing bloody memory. I mean, wow, that was just incredible. I mean, what a way to live. That's what life is about, those moments.
I totally agree. Andrew, I thought you were going to talk about the monkey suit.
No, I wasn't going to talk about the monkey suit. I was going to keep that for later.
Okay.
No, I think you're right, though, Johnny. The good thing about that experience was it wasn't something hey, let's go to Hawaii and go and chase the whales. It was like, we're working tomorrow. Hey, what are you doing tomorrow morning? Let's get up early and maybe we'll go and see if the kayak shop's open, and if it is, we'll grab some kayaks and we'll all go out. And as it turned out, I think there was about 3 or 4 of us going to do it, and then suddenly there was 8 of us, and we were like a little flotilla out there, and it was an awesome show. It was pretty amazing, and we got on video too, which is another cool thing.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
And you kind of hit on something else there.
I want to ask you a question. What's one tool or resource that you can't live without at the moment?
Okay, I know this is going to kind of sound a bit ethereal and a bit metaphysical, and I'll answer the question in a second. I hope I'm not talking too much. I'm trying to keep the answers fairly succinct, yet at the same time somewhat interesting. And, you know, I'll be really honest, I know we're talking a lot about travel, I know we're talking a lot about having this great, amazing lifestyle, but you know what, the truth is actually the last 2 to 3 years have actually been a little bit difficult for me, in the sense that the global financial crisis occurred, so that hit my back pocket. I'll be quite honest, financially hit my back pocket. My career got a little bit shaky there for a second. A personal relationship that I was in broke up. What else? My health suffered a little bit as well. And on top of that, you know, I'm in London. I've been living in London for about 3 years, and I get a phone call from my mum's neighbour. And you know that if you get a phone call from your mum's neighbour, you're going to be in trouble, saying that my mother had been diagnosed with leukemia. So my entire world literally fell apart around me over the course of the last 2 years. And when you ask me what's the one resource and the one tool that I can't live without, I have to say, without a doubt, like I said, I know this is kind of like a metaphysical answer. The one resource I can't live without is my mind. You know, people can take everything away from you. They can take away your possessions. They can take away your property. They can take away your business. You can lose your business. But if you have the right mindset, the right heart, and the right desire, you can absolutely rebuild all of that. So you can. The one tool I have is me, and all my knowledge that I've learned, and my ability to know that I can turn this thing around, and I am turning it around, and that's my one resource, is me, is my knowledge, and actually probably the other thing is probably the relationships. I'm very much a relationship person with the people that I have around me. And again, why are my relationships so good? Because of me, because of what I've shared with people. And in fact, Donald Trump says it best. He lost to, you know, millions and millions of dollars. And why was he able to turn his position around? Because of what he'd learned and his ability to put what he'd learned into practice. So your greatest asset is your brain. It's your tool. It's your knowledge.
Andrew, I like that answer from all the ones that we've been given so far. Normally it's like the iPad or what. It's a good different answer, and coming from Johnny, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, what good is an iPad? An iPad can be used to spend a hell of a bunch of money, eBay.com, Amazon.com, or it can be used to generate wealth. Who drives the iPad? The individual behind it.
Very cool. I know you've been through tough times in the last just few years, as you suggested, a lot of tough times. What's your inner compass or your own mantra that's helped pull you through these darker times?
And I share my story around dark times for, you know, a specific reason, because sometimes you can look at myself or you can look at somebody who's successful in life, and people aspire to that. And what we unconsciously do when we aspire to that is we put them on a pedestal and we say, oh my God, look at Johnnie Cass, or look at Tony Robbins, or whoever it might be, Brian Tracy, whoever it is, and go, oh my God, they're amazing, Oprah, whoever it is. And we're all people, and people have ups and downs in life. And I guess, you know, my mantra in my darkest hours, I've had a couple of them, trust me, but my best mantra is the recognition that the best is yet to come. The belief that there is better to come, more to come, and most importantly, the faith in myself that there is more to come. And sometimes when, you know, it's really fucking annoying actually, when you work with a coach, when someone is, and we've all been there in the place of helplessness, hopelessness, despair, resignation, and you get some coach that goes, get over it. And to move from places of helplessness, hopelessness, desperation, to joy, to desire, to passion, to love is too much of a big leap. So I actually say to people, believe it or not, you know, number one, remember, you are not the despair. You are not the anguish that you're feeling right now. You are pure magnificence, and you just happen to choose and you happen to feel those feelings. But rather than resist them, just go with it. Because once the helplessness moves forward, once you just admit and go, fuck, I'm feeling helpless right now, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, I'm going to accept it, then it moves through you. But if you keep holding on to it, then it's like you're resisting it. So it's just an emotion. All those emotions in difficult times just need to be energy that needs to move through you. Once it moves through you, then of course you move up to joy, of course you move up to passion, of course you move up to desire. And we've all been in that dark fucking tunnel when we've thought to ourselves, is this tunnel ever going to end? And you're halfway through it and you want to go back, but you can't go back. You go, you know what, I'm just going to embrace the darkness for right now. And again, have the faith in my ability, my skill set, my mindset, my knowledge to move me forward. And, you know, there's three key things you need to do to move forward. I think develop the mindset, develop the skill set, and develop the strategies and tactics. Too many people in the world of personal development just focus on mindset. It's one of the great things I love about you guys. You guys have got great, strong mindset, but it's all well and good to have a mindset, but you've obviously figured out how to use technology to your advantage. So you've used skill set as well as strategies to help you move forward as well.
Very cool. Hey, Johnny, as you transition through this area of your life right now, and as you look out of what's coming up and what can be part of your future, what do you want to be known as? What would you love to be known for? What's Johnnie Cass known for? People say, hey, Johnnie Cass, he was known for this. What would that be?
You know, it's funny, as you get a little bit older, you start asking yourself those questions a little bit more often. You know, I definitely have those moments where I say, you know, what do I want people to say about me? And I guess one of my mantras has always been that, you know, I want to be a little bit of a beacon of light, a little bit of a beacon of inspiration for anybody who I come into contact with. And that can be in a multitude of different ways. That can be in, you know, spending half an hour together this morning and maybe someone gets one little insight that changes their life. They get one little piece of information out of this morning that takes them in a different direction. So I guess I want to be known as a guy that has made an impact on someone's life. And, you know, I jokingly say, you know what, if I was to die tomorrow, I would die a happy man because I know that I have made that impact on people. I get messages on Facebook from people who came through courses that we've worked out together 10 years later that say, you know what, that course that I attended with you was the catalyst that totally transformed and totally changed my life. I want to thank you for that. So if I can just touch one person in an appropriate way for a change, just kidding, then I'm happy. That's what I want to be known for, a guy who inspired people, who left a little bit of light in the world, who's also been willing to be a little bit controversial. I'm not here to be liked. I'm happy to be very polarizing. Some people like me, some people don't. So I just want to be known as a guy who just, you know, made a difference in people's lives, whatever that means.
Johnny, what I always have liked a lot about you is that you're very real. Like, you really are. You're on stage exactly the guy that you're off stage wherever we hang out together. And I like the advice you give because it's not that fluffy bullshit sort of coachy advice. But in your own Johnny advice, what are 3 tips, simple tips that somebody can do right now in their lives to have more, make it more, to be happier, to be more fulfilled?
Okay, so I guess I'll share this with you where I'm at right now personally for me, and probably some big realizations that I've had over the last couple of years. The first thing will be, I guess, from a personal point of view. And I think the first thing everybody needs to remember, and we kind of get caught up in this, is to acknowledge that you're not perfect. Like, we all try to put forward the facade of I'm perfect. And I know that I did that for a very, very long time. And the problem with coming across as being perfect all the time is, number one, it's just fucking exhausting. And number two, when you come across as perfect, what you're unconsciously potentially saying is, I have all the answers and I don't need to hear and learn from you. So the minute that you accept and go, I'm going to always be imperfectly perfect, then there's a sense of liberation that comes with that. You know, one of my other mantras is I'm perfectly fucked up. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because the minute you can just acknowledge and say, you know what, I'm fucked up, I don't know that, and I'm okay with that, then all of a sudden you're open to learning, the ego disappears, and you're saying, I'm humble enough to be open to learn from you. And the only way that we get ahead is from being willing to learn from other people. So that's my first thing, is stop trying to be fucking perfect, acknowledge that you don't know everything, and allow the people, and then you'll get the right people coming in your life. The second thing would be to be constantly working on yourself. So I don't know where you are, whether you have a business or whether you're working for somebody else, but your business is an extension of you, and if your business isn't working, it's because there's something in you that isn't working. So always be working on you. And the third tip I would say is, as you're working on you, make sure you're also keeping up with the right skill set and the right strategies to help you move forward. So I think some of the critical skills would be the ability to sell. Like, I think selling is a fundamental skill that any business owner or anyone in this modern day needs to have, whether you're selling yourself, selling a dream, selling a vision. The ability to influence, the ability to persuade is a critical skill to have. Keep up with changes in technology, don't fall behind, and keep moving forward. So I guess, like I said, the three key things there are, number one, just to be willing to not be perfect. Number two, to work on yourself. And number three, to develop specific skills relative to your industry. And the fundamental skill that we should all have is around selling.
Amen.
Amen. I've seen the light. Oh, and the ability to laugh at yourself, which normally comes with the ability which normally comes when you're imperfect. We're too fucking serious. Lighten up, people.
It's such good advice, because Andrew and I we're newer business owners. We've been doing this for about 4 years, and it was really hard to transition from being in that travel space, working in events and seminars, and kind of having that rock star life where you were just waking up in really posh hotels and not having to really face reality. So when that all ended for us, I'll speak personally for me, it was a really rough time, and I had to basically say to myself, you know what, yeah, I'm just going to let this rough time sort of happen. I'm going to fight really hard for what I want, and we're still fighting. Andrew and I fight every day. We're on the phone every day working on our business, because to be a leader and to have responsibility for staff and other people and a direction of a business and your clients is a lot of responsibility. So you've got to be strong in that mind of yours, and trust that mind, and trust that it'll always get better on the other side, as you say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think small business, I'm the same. I'm one guy with one executive assistant, but that's my choice. Yet at the same time, one of my other mantras is don't let your small business keep you small-minded. And remember that every small business started off as an idea. And again, we were just walking down the Botanical Gardens this morning with my friend, and we saw a building, and it had Hudson on the top of the building. And at some point in time, that dude, Mr. Hudson, started in his living room somewhere on a desk, and now has a building. Look at Alex Perry. Alex Perry is a great story. Australian designer, did the same thing. Started designing pajamas and got his mum to cut his pajamas on his mother's dining room table, and now has a multi-million-dollar business. I've just been reading a story about Jimmy Choo shoe, which you should probably read, Heather. I know you're a bit of a fan of the old Jimmy Choo shoe. And again, Jimmy Choo was just some designer working in the back of Hackney that nobody knew and nobody probably wouldn't have known. And now he's a multi-million-dollar business. So you've got to start somewhere, but like you said, it's not always easy, and you sometimes got to fight for things. You got to work for things for sure.
Excellent advice, Johnny. I love it. I love talking to you all the time. We always have a good conversation.
Likewise, guys. It's been long. Oh my God! Come on over. Let's have a martini, darling. It's 9:30 in the morning. It's never too early for a martini. Just kidding. Just kidding, everyone. Don't be kidding. We're kidding. I'm having actually a cup of tea, green tea, just to let you know, with a bit of vodka. No, I'm kidding. I'm so kidding.
Sure you are.
It's something that we've certainly had a lot of laughs on.
Somebody once said to me that they were the assistant to the Dalai Lama. And if you've ever seen the Dalai Lama present, he always has a little bowl with him. And I don't know whether or not she was telling me the truth or not, but she said, do you know what's in that bowl? And I said, well, I'm going to imagine it's some sort of, magical tea. She said, no, darling. She said, I used to put whiskey in there for him. I was like, okay, I'll go with one. Anyway, hey, whatever floats your boat.
Every leader, every speaker has an interesting secret.
Exactly. We're all people. We've all got our vices.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. So I guess it's time to start to wrap up. And Johnny, where do people go to find out more about you? Because you have your finger in so many pies right now. Where, if they want to know about Johnnie Cass, where do they go?
Yeah, I guess the best thing to do, there's two places they can get in touch with me. They can either go to my website, www.johnnycass.com. And if they go to that site there, they can just like the page there, and they'll be able to get my 7.5-step blueprint formula to living and creating a great life. They can also follow me on Facebook as well. I'm pretty avid on Facebook. You know, and I put some of my personal stuff up there. I put some of my business stuff up there. You know, anybody that follows me on Facebook, I send them a message that says, hey, if you join me on Facebook, you're going to see every part of me. And, you know, I have an underwear business, so occasionally I like to jump in my own photo shoots. So you might even get to see me in my underwear every now and then, ladies and gentlemen, because life is just too short not to, right? But yeah, Facebook or my website, www.johnnycass.com. Also, if you're in Australia, I'll be running some events down in Melbourne a little bit later on this year. But of course, keep in touch with me on either of those two places there.
Johnny Cass, Johnie, not Y, right? Not
yeah,
Y.
So it's actually JOHNNIE at Johnnie Cass, CASS, not as in the dead guitarist singer. Johnny at johnnycass.com. JOHNNIE.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Now, Andrew,
how do people find out more about us on Make It Simple TV?
That's exactly what I was going to say. We always put the links of our special guests at makeitsimple.tv, and you just need to look for the episode with Johnnie Cass's name on it and his photo, and we have more information about him. We have his links, and of course we have the replay to this episode over there. And I will say that Johnnie Cass, your photos on Facebook are very hot. So he's not kidding, guys.
You know, people, just before we wrap up, people ask me about those photos, and people are like, hey, Johnnie Cass, you know, I got a couple of messages like this. I know we've got to get going. I just want to again share this with someone. You know, I got a couple of messages from people sometimes that said, hey, Johnnie Cass, you're like a speaker, you know, kind of educator, trainer. Like, do you think it's good for your brand that you be seen in half-naked photos and you be seen like sort of modeling your own underwear brand? And I took a moment to think about that, and my reply was, fuck yes, for a couple of reasons. Number one, I look good, I work hard, I train hard, I'm proud of who I am, and if that's an asset, then I think you should use every asset that you have. Number two, I'm about experiencing all that life has to offer, and if I want to get in a photo shoot, then why not? And number three, if Richard Branson can get dressed up in a wedding dress to promote his bridal business, then I can wear my underwear to promote my underwear business. And it's one of the things about being your own boss, you get to do whatever the fuck you want. So, you know, I guess my point to everyone is do what you want. Be authentic to who you are in your business. Of course, you've got to think about your brand to some degree. But yeah, that's my answer around that one there, just in case. Just go out there and do what you want. That's what life is about.
Fabulous. Andrew, any closing words before we sign off?
No, thanks, Johnny. Loving it. You're keeping it real all the time, and you say it as it is, and that's what we love about you. So thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate you taking the time, getting up at this time of day. I'm sure you've already been in the gym for about 4 hours, but thanks for coming on anyway. And we look forward to catching up with you again soon. Thanks.
Yeah, you know, likewise, guys. Andrew, amazing to see you as always. Heather, amazing to see you as always. I mean, you know, you guys have been in the industry for a long time. It really is a great privilege and a great honor to have been spending only 30 minutes with you this morning. But, you know, the world is a much smaller place these days, and I'm sure I'll see you both very, very soon. And, of course, thank you to our listeners to joining us today on our program.
Thanks so much, Johnny. Thanks to Andrew, and thanks for all of you joining us today. We really appreciate you, and we are excited to see you in the next episode of Make It Simple TV. Talk to you soon.